All right, so you want some extra practice in factoring. Let's see if I have a calligraphy pen here. Let's start with a problem like this. In the CPM textbook, I got these problems from their extra help on the website, and their method of factoring polynomials like this is make the box, pick a generic rectangle, and make the diamond, select the diamond problem, where these two numbers multiply to give you the top number, and they add or subtract to give you the bottom number. Okay, we'll put the first number in here, the last one up there. We multiply them, put it on top, put the middle term on the bottom of the diamond. So without much thinking right now, we've already filled in half our spots here. Now we have to think two things that multiply to give me a positive 6, x squared, and add or subtract to give me 5x. Well, in this case, it's going to be add because it's all pluses. So it's going to be 3x and 2x. And then I put those two numbers over here in either spot, and then factor out what you can. Take out the biggest thing you can take out. I'll take out a 2x here, and I'll take out a 1 here. Nothing can come out of here, so just put a 1 there. So there are my factors. So my answer is 2x plus 3 times the quantity of x plus 1. Pretty straightforward. Do another one. If you want to practice this, just pause it and check your answer with mine. I'd go this route again. So I have 3x squared, my negative 7, multiply, put them on top, put my negative 20x in the bottom. Two things that multiply to give me negative 21, and add or subtract to give me 20. First thought might be 7 and 3, but I can't add or subtract 7 and 3 to get 20. So it's going to have to be 21 times 1, basically. 21 times 1 gives me 21. And when I subtract them, I get the negative 20. I need to make the negative over on the 21, so I get the negative 20. So I'll put that in here, and I'll put the 1x here. Going this way, if you have two negatives in a row, I suggest taking out the negative there. So I'll take out negative 7 here. Going this way, I can only take out an x. Up and down, I can take out a 3x. And here I can take out nothing, so I just put a 1 there. So those are basically my factors like that. So I have 3x plus 1. Doesn't matter which order you put these in. And x minus 7, or x plus negative 7. All right. Is there a quicker way? Of course. The old-fashioned way I learned was just directly going right to the spot right away. We never did this box and X thing. It's just pretty much a CPM method, which is great because when it gets these complicated ones with bigger numbers, that's really not that bad. But this is like a, I don't know, a 6x squared and plus some crazy number plus some other crazy number like a 18 or something. You have a lot of factors to try out. So this method is definitely quicker in this situation when the coefficient of x squared I'm going to suggest is not 1. If it is 1, there's nothing there. I think it's quicker just to do this. So I would just put my x in my x. First two numbers multiply to give me the x squared. The last two numbers here and here multiply to give me 6. So it's either going to be a 6 and a 1 or a 2 and a 3. Then I work on my smiley face. Okay, little smiley face, big smiley face. The middle smiley face just means multiply those two. The big smiley face just means multiply those two. Can I add or subtract 6 and 1 to get 5? Yes. The thing is, I need to get a positive 5, so this would have to be a negative right here, which means I have to put the negative right there. But when I multiply 6 times negative 1, I don't get that positive 6. So the 6 is kind of a tricky one, which is fine. Let's get a bigger eraser here. And so in this case, it's just 2 and 3. It's all addition here. So shortcut, just put in pluses. 2x, big smiley face, 3x. When I add them, I do get the 5x in the middle. So I'm done factoring pretty quickly here. Okay, not having to go through the whole box and x thing. Let's try it again. Coefficient is 1, so I'm going to go directly to this and try the smiley face method. X, x, two numbers that multiply to give me 10, so either 2 and 5 or 10 and 1 have to go here and here. They need to add or subtract to give me 3 though, so it must be a 5 and a 2. Because 5 minus 2 is 3. So this is 5x, this is 2x, and all this stuff I'm writing right now with the smiley faces you can pretty much do in your head. I need to subtract them to get a negative 3, or add them to get a negative 3. So I need my 5 to be negative, meaning this is negative and this is positive. That's it. You don't have to go through that whole box and x thing. only because the coefficient was 1. It's a little quicker to do it this way. Even if the coefficient isn't 1, you can still do it this way. It just takes longer sometimes. Okay. Uh, Also, we want to always factor something out first. Okay. So in this case, instead of trying to go right to this box and x thing and put in your 24x squared and your negative 10 and getting a huge number up here, that should be a red flag saying, shoot, I should have factored something out first. So let's do that. Let's take out a 2, I guess, is the biggest number I can take out here. So factor out a 2 as if this was a box, like a generic rectangle. I'm taking out a 2 here, and I'm saying what's left, what's left, what's left. That's all I'm doing here. So let's take out a 2. And when I take out a 2, I mean I'm dividing by 2. So you're really doing this. So I'm left with a 12x squared, an 11x, and a minus 5. Then from this point, don't forget about the 2, but I'm going to make the box and x thing from the 12x, this whole quantity here. So I'll do that right now. I'm going to go through it as quick as I can just to kind of move the time along here. You can always pause it and try it on your own. There's my 12x squared, my negative 5, multiply, negative 60x squared. 11x is in the middle. Two things that multiply to give me 60, but add or subtract to give me 11. If you don't know it right away, pause it, and I want you to figure it out for yourself. I see 15 and 4. And I need the 11 to be positive, so my 4 is going to be negative, so I can subtract them to get the 11, and I multiply to get the negative 60, which works. So I'll go 15x here, negative 4x there. I notice the two negatives, so I'm going to take out my negative 1 there. I'll take out 5. I'll take out 4x. And here I'll take out a 3x. So there are my factors. So I'll write my answer over here. I'm not going to forget the 2 though. So 2 parentheses 4x plus 5 parentheses 3x minus 1. All right, moving right along, same thing. Here, we never learned how to factor cubes yet. Okay, you'll do that in Algebra 2. So there must be some other thing to it. And yes, there is. You can take out an x. So let's factor out an x. So we have x squared minus 11x plus 28. And because this is a coefficient of 1, I'm just going to go like this. Let's skip the box and x method. Just use my smiley face. I'm going to go 7 and 4, and yes, I am smiling. 7 and 4, minus minus, to give me the positive 28. Negative 7x, negative 4x gives me the negative 11x. So that's the answer there. Flying through because the bells are about to ring in about 5 minutes, so I'm going to try to get through these quick. Special cases, difference of squares and perfect square trinomial are the two special cases we have. If you notice, there's two terms, 1, 2, okay, it's a binomial. Two terms. And the first one's a perfect square. And the last one's a perfect square. So I can take the square root of it and get a whole number. And it's a difference. It's very important. If it's a subtraction, you can do this quick trick. Okay, x, take the square root, and then one's plus, and one's minus. And that's it. If I want to double check with a smiley face, there's my 5x. There's a negative 5x. When I add 5x and negative 5x, I get 0x. That's why there's no middle term, because I get 0 in the middle. So it's very important these two signs are opposites. Okay, let's try this one. Perfect square trinomial, or I'm sorry, difference of squares. Perfect square right here, perfect square right here. Okay, so take the square root. So I have 8m is a square root of this, 8m square root of that, 5 and 5, one's plus, one's minus. That's it. Double check, you have a positive 40, negative 40m. When I add them, I get nothing in the middle, and that's what I want. So let's do one more. Difference of squares again. So take the square root, take the square root, take the square root of this one is 5p, 5p. Oh, just because the p's are last, not first, just leave them at where they're supposed to be. One's plus, one's minus. So the 5p is going to be negative over here, and it works. It's all the same stuff. Now we get to a perfect square trinomial. Now you could still simply do this. If you don't recognize it's a perfect square trinomial, just do it regularly. Two things that multiply to give me 16, add or subtract to give me 8 is 4 and 4, and it'll work like this. Okay, and that's my answer. I'm going to prefer this answer. Okay, either this is fine, they're both the same, but I'll show you why. Because with the perfect square trinomial, there's kind of a shortcut. If you recognize this is a perfect square, just like the difference of squares, and the last one's a perfect square, and they are, see if you can take the square root of them, okay, so like 4y basically, and multiply them. And if I double it, I get that middle term. If that's true, then you can simply do y plus 4 squared without doing any other thinking, okay? But you need to recognize square root, multiply them together, double to get the middle. If it happens to be a minus right here, I'll just put a minus in the middle here. Okay, let's try another one. Perfect square, yes. Perfect square, yes. Trinomial, okay, so 3 parts, so it's not going to be m minus 5, m plus 5. But I notice when I take that 5 and that m, when I take the square roots, I can double it to get 10. So I have a quick shortcut. M, 5, minus because of that, squared. Double check it with a smiley face. Okay, see if it works. Here's negative 5m. Here's negative 5m. That's why when I add them up, I double it to get that negative 10m in the middle. So that's why it works. Pretty cool. All right, now let's do this one. Same thing. Perfect square. Perfect square. One is a perfect square. Okay. Pause it and try it on your own if you want. But I'm going to take, no, I'm not going to do that. I just want to double check it. 6x is a perfect square here. The square root. The square root of 1 is 1, so it's like times 1. So you get 6x. Can I double it to get the middle term? Absolutely. So I know it's a perfect square trinomial. So I'm just going to write it like this. Take the square root. Take the square root. The sign tells me the sign in the middle. Squared. Pretty cool. Now let's put it all together. Now this looks kind of scary looking, kind of weird, but what jumps out at me is the factor of 4. So let's pull out the 4 first. So x squared, because that's what you should always check for anyway. Minus 2x plus 1. Now this is just a normal factoring problem. We could do this, but I happen to notice it's also a perfect square trinomial, okay? Because this is a square root, and if I take 1x and I double it, I get 2. So if you want to just use that shortcut just to get practice at it, we still have the 4, then we have x minus 1 squared. Because I took the square root of 1, I took the square root of x, I double check by multiplying them and doubling to get the negative 2. Then the sign stays the same there. So there's going to be my answer. I think I have one more or a couple more. Oh, that's the last problem. Last problem. Same thing here now. Is this a perfect square trinomial? Or difference of squares it looks like because it's 2 terms. But the thing is this isn't a square and this isn't a square. So what can I do? Well, not much, except, oh wait, there's an x here I can factor out. Let's wait for that bell to ring here. Okay, so let's factor out the x. So I have 4x squared minus 9. And then suddenly, oh, that's a difference of squares. So this is not a perfect square trinomial, so I'm not going to go something squared. I'm just going to go take the square root, take the square root, and because there's only 2 terms, I do the plus minus thing. And that's my answer. All right, good luck. There's lots more practice at the CPM website. When you go into extra practice problems, it might be under the parent guide. But this is where I got these problems from, and there's tons more. So you really need to get good at this, and it makes your life much more easier.